You got a raise last year, 3%, maybe 4 if you fought for it. You felt good for about 2 weeks. Then you went to the grocery store and your usual cart cost $40 more than it did 6 months ago. You filled up your gas tank and winced. You looked at your rent renewal notice and something didn't add up. Here's the thing nobody tells you directly. Your salary going up doesn't mean you're getting ahead. In fact, for most people, it means you're falling behind in slow motion. This isn't about bad luck. It's not about poor budgeting. It's about a system where the number in your bank account grows while the value of that number quietly dissolves. And once you see how it works, you can't unsee it. Let's start with a number. The average American worker's salary increased by about 22% between 2000 and 2020. Sounds decent, right? 2 decades, 22% growth. You'd think people would feel wealthier, but here's the problem. During that same period, the cost of housing went up by over 50%. Healthcare costs doubled, college tuition tripled in some states, and we're not even talking about the last 4 years yet. So your salary went up, but everything you need to survive went up faster, much faster. This is the core of the issue. Your income and your purchasing power are not the same thing. One is a number on a pay stub. The other is what that number can actually do for you in the real world. And the gap between those two things has been widening for decades. Most people blame inflation, and they're not wrong. But inflation isn't some random economic weather pattern. It's a policy, a choice, a tool. And understanding who controls it and why is where this gets uncomfortable. Let's go back to basics. Inflation is supposed to mean the general rise in prices over time. Your coffee costs more, your car costs more, your everything costs more. The standard explanation is that this happens naturally as economies grow. But that's only half true. Inflation happens when there's more money chasing the same amount of goods. Simple supply and demand. If everyone suddenly has twice as much cash, but there aren't twice as many products to buy, prices go up. The money becomes less valuable because there's more of it. Now here's the part they don't emphasize in economics class. Governments and central banks can create money. They do it all the time. And when they do, they're directly diluting the value of the money you already have. Think of it like this. Imagine you're at a party and everyone gets one slice of pizza. Then the host walks in with 100 new people, but no extra pizza. Your slice doesn't get smaller physically, but your share of the total just dropped. That's inflation. You still have your slice. It's just worth less now. Since 2020, the US government has created more new money than it did in the previous 2 centuries combined. We're talking trillions with a T. Pandemic relief, stimulus checks, corporate bailouts, infrastructure spending. All of it required printing money that didn't exist before. And all of that new money went into an economy that wasn't producing proportionally more goods, so prices went up fast. Your 3% raise? It was trying to keep up with 7% inflation. You were already losing before you cashed the check. But it gets more specific. Not all prices rise at the same rate, and that's where the story gets stranger. The government tracks inflation using something called the Consumer Price Index, the CPI. It's a basket of goods and services that's supposed to represent what average people buy. Food, gas, housing, healthcare, entertainment. They measure how much that basket costs over time. Sounds straightforward, but here's the trick. The basket changes. The government adjusts what's inside it. They swap out items. They use something called hedonic adjustment, which means if a product gets better, they count that as a price decrease, even if you're paying more. Example, you buy a laptop for $1,000. 5 years later, a new laptop costs $1,200, but it's faster and has more storage. The government might record that as deflation because you're getting more computer per dollar, even though you're paying more dollars. This matters because the CPI is used to calculate cost of living adjustments, Social Security benefits, government contracts, union wage negotiations. If the CPI says inflation is 3%, but your lived experience says it's 7%, you're not crazy, you're just measuring different things. Housing is the biggest distortion. For decades, the CPI didn't fully account for home prices. It used something called owner's equivalent rent, which is basically a guess at what you'd pay to rent the house you own. But actual home prices in many cities doubled or tripled, while the CPI showed modest increases. So the official inflation rate says things are fine, your wallet says otherwise. And your salary increases are based on the official number, not the real one. Now let's talk about who benefits from this setup. When inflation rises, people with debt win, people with savings lose. If you owe $200,000 on a mortgage, and inflation runs hot for a few years, you're paying back that loan with money that's worth less than when you borrowed it. Your debt shrinks in real terms even though the number stays the same. But if you've been saving cash for a down payment or retirement, that money is losing value every month. $100,000 today will not buy what $100,000 bought 5 years ago. Governments love inflation for the same reason. The U.S. national debt is over $30 trillion. If inflation runs at 4% a year, the real value of that debt drops by over $1 trillion annually without the government paying a cent. It's a hidden tax, a slow transfer of wealth from savers to borrowers. Corporations benefit too, especially large ones. They can raise prices faster than wages. They have pricing power. A small business might struggle to pass costs on to customers. Amazon, Walmart, Apple, they just do it, and their profit margins expand even as your budget tightens. Here's the irony. The system punishes exactly the behavior it claims to reward. Save money responsibly? You lose. Take on leverage and debt? You win. It's backwards, but it's by design. Let's get personal for a second. Imagine two people. Both started working in 2000. Person A saves 10% of every paycheck in a regular savings account. Steady, disciplined, exactly what financial advice tells you to do. Person B takes out loans, buys a house with a mortgage, finances a car, uses credit strategically, but doesn't save much cash. Fast forward to 2024. Person A has a pile of cash that's worth 30% less than when they saved it after accounting for inflation. Person B owns a house that's doubled in value and a debt load that's easier to manage because their income went up while their mortgage payment stayed flat. Person B comes out ahead, not because they were smarter, because the system rewarded debt and punished savings. This isn't a moral judgment, it's just math. But it's math that most people don't see until it's too late.